Movies have always been there for me, when nobody else has. For the last 7 years or so, once I got the freedom to go on my own, whenever I felt alone or just needed to escape reality, I would go down to my local theaters and just watch a new release. Man, those were some good times during some dark eras of my life, and this movie reminded me exactly why I love movies so much. Babylon has a star-studded cast including the likes of Margot Robbie and Brad Pitt and focuses on 1920s Hollywood, the ups and the downs and the rise and fall of several ambitious dreamers aiming to make it in the acting industry back in the day. And my god, is it ambitious. This was probably one of the most ambitious films I've seen in a while. I even heard some ladies talking about it like right after the movie had ended, saying if they had to describe this movie to their friends, they just couldn't. Like, it's one of those movies where you just have to see it yourself to believe it. This movie was wild, crazy, ludicrous, insane, hilarious, and emotional. A mix of all of those. There were so many truly bizarre scenes and hilarious circumstances, and even though a lot of them didn't make any sense, they just made the movie out to be a very thoroughly entertaining watch. And this is how I would label this movie. A crazy, more embellished, over-the-top story about movie production and actor struggles back in the day. I really enjoyed seeing the set designs and the cameras and the way some movies were back in the day with, like, for example, the silent movies. And if you like Brad Pitt, Diego Calva, Tobey Maguire, and definitely like Margot Robbie, then you're definitely gonna like the shit out of this movie. Top-notch performances all round. And you definitely would think so, right? Since we're seeing actors as actors, basically playing themselves in a movie. But no, seriously, some of their performances were just so entrancing and just had my eyes glued to the screen. Now, this is a movie that I believe already released a while ago, like in December or something, like in the US or something. Well, we're just getting it this week in Australia. But the reason I bring this up is because of that, I had a gander at some of the early like review scores prior to my screening, and yes, they weren't exactly positive. So I didn't really have too high hopes for this movie, but came out thoroughly entertained and even a bit emotional. But I do understand why. I do kind of understand why there are mixed reviews for this movie, because while I did have an overall great time, it definitely is not perfect. Now, this movie isn't like your average movie. It's really not one of those conventional movies that we're used to seeing. First off, it's 3 hours long. A little bit more than 3 hours long. Like, the runtime is similar to an epic like Avengers Endgame and Avatar. It's long. My ass, dude, I was sitting, I went to the theaters that I don't normally go to because I wanted to see it before everyone else in this country, I guess. And the seats weren't that comfortable, and my ass hurt after sitting in it for fucking 3 hours straight. It was brutal in a way. But yeah, like even though it is 3 hours long, it doesn't feel like a whole lot happens, even though a lot does happen. Does that make sense? For example, this is just an example, right? But like, throughout the movie, we see the full transformation of Margot Robbie's character from the start of her career to the end of her career, right? Even though we see that, it still felt a little bit too brief. And that's mainly because this movie is like split between many different characters, and since that's the case, the story for some specific characters just felt way too rushed. Like, I would have loved to learn more backstory for certain characters, and I just feel like there needed to be more character development. If there was more character development, I probably would have felt more for those characters and the story overall. But I don't feel as much as I would have liked for a movie like this. There are also many themes in this movie, some done well, others not done as well. I do really like the theme of actors back in the day and their struggles trying to make it. I believe I saw like a poster of like Marilyn Monroe or something towards the end of the movie, and that just reminds me of like what this movie is all about, and like the struggles back in the day and the choices that some stars make. In fact, that was a theme all throughout the movie, but I only felt like it was getting serious like that towards the end. And that's the thing, even though this movie was a joy to watch most of the time, I just felt like it could have been done better. Some themes weren't explored to their full extent, and it largely felt like a movie that was trying to cram in a little bit too much. Some parts of it was really good, and I'm talking about the hilarious over-the-top scenes and some of the more serious parts of the movie showing the actors' struggles, and some parts weren't that good. Because of the long-ass runtime, some parts were a bit of a bore. But I will say, that's kind of the way this movie goes. I mean, it's like little moments of boredom, followed by moments of just pure craziness. People in my theater were just laughing their ass off during certain parts of this movie, especially during that whole sequence with Tobey Maguire. Holy shit, that part was just wild. Like, honestly, I didn't even know he was in the movie until right then and there, so that was a very welcome surprise. Ultimately, Babylon made the right choice in featuring a star-studded lineup, because this movie was ambitious as hell, cramming in a multitude of different themes, and while the movie does a lot right, it could also have been done better. And let me just say, I really enjoyed the ending. That was the part that really got me, you know. And I think the ending by itself helped raise my overall rating of the movie. But at the same time, I do feel like if the movie was done better, like let's say if there was more character development or showed that theme more throughout the movie, I would have definitely I would have definitely felt more for the ending and the characters, because the ending did kind of feel a bit out of place. I mean, let's just say that this was one of those movies that I really did enjoy. Okay, I did enjoy, even though I pointed out a lot of like flaws, I guess, or talked a lot about like what I didn't really like about this movie and how I kind of like feel similar to those people who rated this movie like had mixed ratings on this movie. But I just feel like this is one of those movies that, yes, it was pretty good, but if it was done better, it could possibly have been one of my favorite movies of all time. Like, this is one of those movies that's kind of like that. I'm going to give Babylon a B+. Guys, thanks so much for watching. Let me know what you think down below. Like and sub if you enjoyed. And as always, feel free to check out any of my previous videos. Until next time.